we have always feared the dark, and yet we've always walked toward it. Every autumn, as the air thins and the light grows tired, we return to a single night, a night wrapped in masks and flickering flames, candy and shadows, laughter and whispers. We call it Halloween. But beneath the costumes and carved pumpkins, something older stirs, something deeper hums. This night has always been a question, and the question is this: is Halloween evil, or is it the doorway home? We tell ourselves it's just a party, just a game for children, just another excuse to dress as monsters so we don't feel like one. But there's a reason our ancestors built bonfires when the crops were gathered and the trees began to sleep. There's a reason they set plates for the ones who are gone. There's a reason still that some of us feel someone standing just behind us when the October winds change. The reason is older than memory, and it begins with a paradox. We fear death, and yet we want to touch it. Welcome to Waking Dream Stories, a place where wonder meets rest. Here, we explore mysterious questions and the meaning of things, wandering through ideas that feel too big for daylight, but just right for the quiet of the night. If the world feels heavy tonight, if your mind is crowded with things unsolved and undone, this story will ask nothing of you except to listen and drift. If you're drawn to wondering about the world in a way that makes you feel a little more hopeful as you fall asleep, then I hope you'll subscribe. We'll be here with more questions tomorrow. For now, let the world outside fade. Let your breathing slow. Take a deep breath. Let it out. And now, perhaps we will see that what we once feared was never darkness at all, but love dressed in shadow. To most, Halloween is a sugar-drenched spectacle. Plastic skeletons on porches, pumpkin-spiced everything. The annual excuse to become someone or something else. But peel back the layers and you will find a night unlike any other. A night humans have marked for millennia as sacred. A night when the veil between worlds, the living and the dead, the known and the unknown, was said to thin until it could almost be seen through. Why would we celebrate such a thing? If death is our greatest fear, why do we carve it into gourds and hang it from our doorways? Why do children dress as ghosts and skeletons, laughing as they knock on strangers' doors? Because maybe, deep down, we sense that this is not a night of evil. It is a night of reunion, a night of remembering, a night that asks not whether the dead still walk, but whether we still know how to listen. The Celts called it Samhain, summer's end, a festival that marked not just the turning of the seasons, but the turning of the soul. On this night, they believed the boundary between this world and the next grew gossamer thin. The Romans, too, honored their dead in late October during Feralia, a day of offerings and remembrance. And later, Christianity renamed the night All Hallows' Eve, the eve of saints and spirits. But the name never mattered. The ritual always did. We are drawn to the dark, not because it is empty, but because it is full. The question is not whether the dead return. The question is, what if they never truly left? Long before doorbells and candy bowls, before cobweb decorations and monster movies, there was fire. In the Celtic lands, Ireland, Scotland, Wales, the end of October marked the final harvest, a moment when light and dark balanced on a knife's edge. The crops were in, the livestock were brought down from summer pastures. The world prepared to sleep. And on this threshold, the Celts believed, the barrier between the worlds dissolved. They lit bonfires on hilltops, great roaring flames that could be seen for miles, to guide lost spirits home and to protect the living from those who might wander with ill intent. They left offerings of food and drink at the thresholds of their homes: bread, milk, apples, ale. Some wore masks and animal skins, disguising themselves to confuse wandering souls, or perhaps to join them unnoticed in the procession between worlds. In some Irish villages, people still leave bread and milk on their doorsteps every Samhain night, not for the living, but for those who might visit from beyond. The Romans, when their empire swept across Celtic lands, layered their own rites of remembrance atop Samhain. Feralia, a day to honor ancestors, and Pomona, a festival celebrating the goddess of fruit and orchards, perhaps explaining our tradition of bobbing for apples. The fusion of these traditions birthed the festival we now know. Early Christians, unable to erase these deeply rooted customs, recast them as All Saints' Day on November 1st, followed by All Souls' Day on November 2nd. They shifted the story from pagan spirits to holy souls, but the rituals remained. The bonfires, the offerings, the masks. Because beneath the theology, there was a truth too ancient to be erased. There is a cycle. Life emerges. It grows and ripens. It withers and falls. Then it returns as nourishment for the next life. This was not superstition, it was cosmic choreography. Halloween was the ritualized heartbeat of this truth, that death is not an end, but a transformation, that the harvest feeds the seed, that what falls becomes the soil for what rises. But was this merely myth and metaphor, or did our ancestors believe something far stranger? Some believe the first Halloween was not a celebration at all, but a memorial. According to esoteric traditions, the night we call All Hallows' Eve traces back to a single cataclysmic moment, the sinking of Atlantis, when an entire civilization vanished beneath the sea. Its temples, its wisdom, its people, their collective departure etched itself into humanity's psyche. The night when so many crossed over became the night we have always remembered. Occult philosopher Helena Blavatsky once wrote, "The dead walk not to haunt, but to remember the night they were many." In some mystery schools, Samhain is still described as the return of the Atlanteans, the anniversary of a cosmic migration, a mass crossing from one realm to another. And there are clues scattered across the ancient world that suggest our ancestors understood this night in ways we have forgotten. Megalithic monuments such as Newgrange in Ireland and Stonehenge in England were deliberately aligned to the setting sun on Samhain, not merely for farming calendars, but as portals for the soul. At Newgrange, the inner chamber is illuminated by the rising sun on the winter solstice, but its construction also marks the cross-quarter day of Samhain with precision. Some researchers believe these sites were designed not just to track time, but to transcend it. Measurements taken near certain ancient sites show unexplained electromagnetic anomalies around October's end, subtle shifts in the Earth's field that some believe our ancestors could sense and perhaps even harness. Did they know more about consciousness and space-time than we imagine? And in Mexican villages, where Dia de los Muertos is still celebrated, families say the air changes on that night. Altars glow with candles, marigolds, and offerings. Pan de Muerto, sugar skulls, photographs of the departed. And again, people speak of a presence, not metaphorical, but felt, gathering by the firelight, a warmth, a nearness, a sense that the ones they love are sitting beside them once more. Consider this. What if Halloween is not a reenactment of ancient beliefs, but a ritual memory of something real? What if it is not we who invite the dead, but they who invite us to remember what we once knew. We fear death because we imagine it as a wall, sudden, final, merciless. But what if it's not a wall at all? What if death is a door and Halloween is the night we practice walking through? Modern physics tells us that information, the essence of what something is, can never truly be destroyed. It can change form, scatter, recombine, but it cannot vanish. Consciousness, memory, love. Perhaps these two are not erased, only rearranged. Quantum mechanics speaks of entanglement, particles that remain connected across vast distances, influencing one another instantaneously. Could the bonds we form in life persist beyond it? Could love itself be a kind of entanglement, unbroken by death? And if so, then the ones we grieve are not gone. They have simply taken on a shape we cannot yet comprehend. Death is autumn, the falling leaf, the fading light. But autumn is not the end. It is the quiet before spring. It is the necessary rest before life begins again. The tree does not mourn its leaves. It releases them, knowing they will nourish the roots. The seed does not fear the dark soil. It surrenders to it, knowing it will rise again. If we accepted this, if we truly believed that the dead still weave themselves into the living, how differently would we mourn? How fiercely would we love? How gently would we fear? If any of this is even partly true, if Halloween is more than costumes, more than candy, more than fear, then perhaps we have misunderstood the night entirely. Maybe it is not a warning of evil, but a whisper of eternity. We speak of the veil between the worlds as if it separates us. But maybe the veil is simply our own forgetting, thin enough to pass through, yet thick enough to make us doubt. And perhaps it grows thinnest, not because the dead step closer, but because we do. Because every autumn, when the harvest is in and the year begins to sleep, we too grow still enough to feel what was always there. A hospice nurse once shared that every October, more patients speak of dreams, dreams in which their loved ones are waiting, smiling just beyond a golden horizon. Not ghosts, not visions, but reunions, quiet and calm. They describe a light that feels like home, a presence that feels like peace. In Mexico, the Day of the Dead does not mourn the dead, it celebrates them. Families picnic in graveyards, share food with the departed, and even dance. It is not macabre, it is communion. It is joy woven from grief, memory made tangible. Psychologists studying grief rituals have found that regular symbolic contact with the dead, writing letters, setting places at the table, even speaking their names aloud, dramatically reduces anxiety and loneliness. We are wired, it seems, not to let go, but to stay connected, to carry them forward. And so we begin to see Halloween differently. It is not the celebration of evil. It is the acknowledgement of continuity. It is our annual reminder that endings are illusions, and that the ones who shaped us still shape us, even if we no longer see their faces. Maybe this night was never about monsters lurking in the dark. Maybe it was about love that refuses to be extinguished, even by death. We are temporary. We know this. Our hands will wrinkle, our names will fade. One day, the world will move on without us. But Halloween reminds us of something far greater, that we are part of a story much larger than ourselves. A story in which no character is truly lost. When we light a candle for the ones who came before, we are not summoning spirits. We are participating in memory. When we carve a pumpkin into a lantern, we are not warding off evil. We are carrying forward an ancient flame that says, we remember, we still belong. The jack-o'-lantern itself has roots in an Irish folktale about a man named Stingy Jack who tricked the devil and was doomed to wander the earth with only a carved turnip to light his way. When Irish immigrants came to America, they found pumpkins, larger and easier to carve, and the tradition transformed. But the meaning remained, a light in the darkness, a beacon for the lost. We, the living, are the product of uncountable lives that came before. Every breath we take is a gift from those who breathed before us. Every step we walk is on the path they cleared. Every word we speak carries echoes of voices long silent. And one day, we will join them, not as an ending, but as a continuation. The wheel will turn again. Others will speak our names. Others will place bread on the doorstep for us. Others will light candles and say, I remember you. You are not forgotten. This is the great comfort hidden beneath Halloween's mask. We are not separate from the dead. We are the dead still living. and they are the living now unseen. So, is Halloween evil? No. Evil is forgetting. Halloween is remembering. It is a night that asks us to slow down, to listen for footsteps we cannot hear, to look into the dark and see not terror, but connection. It is a ritual that transforms fear into reverence, death into continuity, and endings into beginnings. And perhaps most beautifully, it is the one night each year when we allow ourselves to believe that love is stronger than the grave. So tonight, as the October wind stirs the leaves and the candles flicker in their pumpkins, take a moment, speak a name, light a flame, set a place at the table. Not because you fear the dark, but because you know deep down that the ones you love are still walking beside you, just beyond the veil, just beyond sight, but never beyond reach. Well, if your eyes are still open, I hope your thoughts feel a little farther away from the noise. No matter what, I wish you peace and good thoughts. Good night, dreamers.